Euro USD and potential trades, let's dive straight in. So starting off with euro dollar has been moving back in towards the upside after sweeping that daily swing low. So we have now seen an aggressive reaction, which is forming back in towards the upside. So obviously the daily, we were looking for a close below this low, hasn't happened, and now we've seen a liquidity grab, which is now facilitating an upside reversal. So in order to understand how that upside reversal is forming, we have to dive in towards the 4 hour, and what we can see on the 4 hour over here, if we just quickly zoom in, is that we've swept also that 4 hour internal low, and now we've broken that 4 hour internal high. So with internal, I mean change of character. So we get that push down, we get a pullback, we get a push down, we sweep this low, and then we push back up, and we've now broken this high. And then straight away you saw a pretty much a pullback candle over here, pull back in towards that entire sell before the buy, and from there we facilitated a move further in towards the upside. Now at the moment, this over here is your protected low, and pretty much just entering supply at the moment, so we could see a potential bearish reaction back in towards the downside. For now, the overall 4 hour fractal structure is still bullish, so we could still see further upside form today on euro dollar. However, this is a very important zone. So what I'm looking at for the rest of today is to see, okay, can we now maybe push out of this zone, then for example a pullback one more time, and then further upside continuation? Or let's say this zone is actually strong, we get kind of like a push, pullback, maybe one more sweep at the high, and then a change in character, and then we can start looking for that short back in towards the downside. So that's pretty much what I'm looking for on the 4 hour time frame for the rest of today. Going in towards the 15-minute time frame, the 15-minute is still swing bullish in towards the downside on euro dollar. So this is your entire impulse in towards the downside. Now, if we look at the overall internal structure, we are still bearish on euro dollar. You have to keep that in mind, because again, kind of like the internal structure was impulse down, pullback, impulse down, pullback, impulse down, one big one, and we never saw close below this low, meaning this is your high, this is your low, and this was just an internal break facilitating the move further in towards the upside. So now if this area of 4 hour supply is really substantial and really means something, we could potentially hit like something like this. So we, for example, pull back in towards this area of demand over here, then maybe one more push up in towards the upside once again, in towards this 15-minute zone, and then for example see an impulse down, break the low, and then for example pull back and then push down lower, back down in towards this 15-minute zone, which would also kind of like resonate with the overall 4 hour idea that we have, that we do potentially still have some demand zone over here in the sell for the buy, and that the overall 4 hour change of character structure should kind of like move in sync with general market structure knowledge. So this is what I'm kind of looking for today on euro dollar. Let's see, you could look for a long from this zone, you could look for short from this zone. If we do push down lower and we start breaking structure, then you can definitely look for a short on that new potential lower high, back down in towards this area of demand over here with kind of like this trendline liquidity resting above this corrective ascending price action. So that is euro dollar for you. Moving on in towards the dollar index. So the dollar index has moved down lower once again. As we can see, we didn't really see close above that swing high of 104.557. So what then happens is that we just continue back in towards downside. So we're now inside this area of demand. We could see a bullish reaction on those or from the dollar, meaning that euro dollar, for example, would push down back in towards the downside. So keep that in mind that we are inside this area of demand. Now, obviously, we have to see some kind of like structural shift from the dollar index. So if we just dive in towards the 15-minute, for example, we can clearly see that this is now your area of supply, so or order flow. So push down, pull back, push down. So we're just moving back up in towards here. You even have this refined zone over here with kind of like this liquidity high for now. So let's see how we react inside of there, because then the dollar index could just continue down lower. If we break this high, that would be even more confirmation then that the euro dollar, for example, is ready to drop back down lower. So that is that from the dollar index. Yeah, we could reverse back up and continue higher from this area of demand. But if we fail that area of demand, yeah, then we have to take into account that we could start moving down lower, even all the way back in towards, for example, this refined POI over here. But obviously I have this entire POI drawn in, this entire sub for the buy. So just keep in mind that if we do pull back in towards this area of demand, we could reverse from anywhere inside of there. Now that's a dollar index. Moving in towards Aussie dollar. So Aussie dollar has pushed back up higher. A very beautiful price action actually yesterday, to be honest. So what happened yesterday is that we saw a change of character on this high, as we explained. Then what did we have? We had pretty much here our area of demand. Also mentioned in yesterday's video, we get a pullback in towards there, and then we saw that further upside continuation. So a very nice 4-hour trade. Aussie dollar still looking good for that further upside as long as this low over here is respected. It should continue with the overall order flow in towards the highs. So that is the 4-hour, still looking for further upside on Aussie dollar. We don't really have anything inside of here that is really going to push price significantly down, in my opinion. Obviously, if we do start shifting in the overall 4-hour fractal structure, then we will look for further downside. As long as that 4-hour fractal structure holds, we continue to look for longs. Now, going in towards the 15-minute time frame, what we can then see is that the overall structure shift occurred yesterday. So we get the impulse down, we get the pullback, we get the impulse down, and then boom, yesterday, end of the day for myself. So this is 7 o'clock Central Eastern Time, so kind of like midway through the New York session, we get a break of structure over here on this high, which was formed on Monday during the London session. So we break that, and now we are seeing pretty much a shift in the overall structure of price. So what has happened is that we had kind of like a liquidity high over here, and this is the high of this area of supply. So this is kind of like the extreme supply zone, I would like to call it, pretty much above the entire range. So what is interesting about this supply zone is that you can see did not get hit, did not get hit, did not get hit, and also did not get hit. So there was a lot of liquidity resting above these highs inside of this supply zone. And then what you see is that we liquidate actually the supply zone itself, and then kind of now reverse in towards the downside, and are seeing a reaction to this area of supply. So I'm personally not shorting this at the moment, but obviously after BOS, what do you expect? We expect a pullback, and we see liquidation. And obviously you can look for that further downside from here. So Aussie dollar could continue down lower for now, and there's a lot of liquidity being built up below here. So I would like to see some further downside on Aussie dollar for this morning, and then potentially with the New York session move back up from these areas of demand, and potentially also from that 4-hour area of demand. Obviously it doesn't have to happen. If let's say the 4-hour just decides to react already to this imbalance candle over here, so this bullish candle, then what could happen is that we could just see a continuation from here and then continue up higher, 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 until obviously at a certain point in time we see a 4-hour change of character. So this at the moment is your 4-hour change of character high, and this over here is your 4-hour protected low. So we're just trading in between that range for the rest of today. If we break this high, then somewhere over here we'll have our 4-hour new low. If that 4-hour then goes, then we'll look for shorts once again. But as long as we're trading inside of this range, I'm just going to continue looking for further upside on Aussie dollar. So obviously, but then again, just keep in mind that we can move down lower. This is my 4-hour demand zone. I have liquidity drawn out over here. We have fresh 50-minute demand, fresh 50-minute demand. So preferably you would want to look for longs from there, and then look for further downside for the moment this morning. So that is that. Let me just quickly, yep. So that is that. Moving in towards pound dollar. Yeah, for me, I'm doing this all live, guys. So sometimes I also have to double check or I forget something. So yeah, pound dollar, excuse me. What has now happened? Very interesting. We've now seen a 4-hour change of character, a bullish change of character over here on the 4-hour, meaning that we could potentially push up higher still for this pair. However, if we see a 4-hour change of character, what do you expect? You could expect kind of like a pullback, right? Just keep that in mind. And we also have 4-hour supply positioned over here. So that is just something to keep in mind. However, overall, there is still room for pound dollar to move further in towards the upside. Just also keep in mind, we kind of have like a very obvious liquidity resting still above these highs over here. So we kind of have like this high, and then this is a lower high, this is a lower high. So I know that there's a lot of stop losses above these highs, which could still be taken out. So just keep that in mind for pound dollar. If we do start, let's say, pushing out of this zone, it could reach all the way above that trend line over there. That's something that we have to keep in mind. For now, I mean, going in towards the 15-minute time frame, it's not like the best pair that I like trading on the 15-minute pound dollar. I mainly like trading it on the 4-hour, and if I just focus here on the 4-hour time frame, that I now can see that we've made a change of character. So what does that mean for myself? Well, it pretty much means that, let's say we refine this area over here. So like if you were to focus on, let's say, just say this buy before the sell candle, we push down, then we pull back straight away with that wick inside of it. So you could also just only focus your POI on the 4 hour on this imbalance candle over here. We've now wicked out of that candle, meaning pretty much supply has been taken out. And we've also seen a change of character now on the 4 hour. So a change in market structure, which means for me that it is more likely than not that we are going to continue up higher. So now just keep an eye out for this, for example, POI over here, this sell candle. From there, we could potentially continue up higher if the 4 hour closes like this, strong bullish. Because then also this low over here of that bullish candle, or that bearish candle, excuse me, that becomes your fractal low. And then you want to look for this demand zone to then play out and then tap in and then tap back out and then continue further in towards the upside, potentially all the way back up in towards, let's say, this extreme POI on the 4 hour. So that is that from pound dollar. Now moving in towards NZDUSD. So NZDUSD saw some bearish reaction yesterday, as we can clearly see. So we got that change of character over here. So fractal break in structure. Then what happens? We pull back in towards this buy before the sell, right? So this buy for the sell, this was your 4 hour protected high. So we saw that good initial reaction. There were some trades playing out on the lower time frame. Let me just quickly dive in. Yeah, so well, on the 15th, it wasn't that clean, actually, to be honest. Like, I was looking for a short from this 50-minute POI, but we never saw any bearish confirmation, guys. That's why we didn't take any shorts, because as we can clearly see, this is your sell for the buy. Tap in, boom, push up. This is your sell for the buy, tap in, push up. This is your sell for the buy, tap in, push up, right? So the overall order flow never shifted bearish. That's why I never took a short from here. And that is why you can never fail, really, if you, or well, obviously you can fail, but it's very less likely that you'll fail if you use that 50-minute order flow for entries. Now going back in towards the 4 hour, I mean, yeah, NZDUSD is just going to continue up higher until at a certain point in time we see a shift in market structure on the lower time frame. So on the 50-minute, for example, what I have drawn out is this as your swing, and then this is your swing break in towards the upside. So now this is your swing low, and somewhere over here you're forming a swing high. We are forming corrective price action now, so there's liquidity being built up below this trend line. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do kind of see a sell-off very, very soon in towards lower prices on NZDUSD, from where you could look for potentially a long back up in towards, for example, this extreme area of supply over there. So something like this. Now moving in towards our last pair, which is gold. So gold is moving very, very choppy. Over on the 4 hour, I was looking for further downside yesterday, as we didn't really have any fresh demand left and some trendline liquidity over here. I was looking just to trade the over 4 hour order flow in towards this fresh area of demand down below over there. For now, just really staying out of gold and going to be waiting, as the overall market structure here is just very, very corrective, just ranging. So staying out of gold and really focusing on those other pairs. So thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. I wish you all a fantastic day and speak soon.